there. My name is Elizabeth Cochran Seaman, or as I'm better well known as Nellie Bly. I am an investigative journalist from the 19th century. I am known for a particular stunt in which I chose to fully immerse myself into a situation in order to gain the truth and then report about it. Now, this all started in 1887 when I was working for the New York World newspaper at the time. And I was given an assignment in which I had to be quite creative. You see, I got myself admitted into an insane asylum on Blackwell's Island. Now, Blackwell's Island was bought by New York City and it's located in the East River. While I was there, I think I spent, I believe it was 10 days in this insane asylum. But I was subjected to some of the most deplorable conditions. Things like a forced lack of sleep, where they would put us into these very cold and very damp rooms. And then the nurses would walk up and down the halls all night long, stomping their feet and talking loudly and making all kinds of noises that would ultimately lead to not being able to sleep. And on top of that, we were subjected to ice cold baths in some of the most unsanitary water and dirty towels and rags. And I witnessed abuse at the hands of these doctors and nurses. Some of the abuse was physical as well as sexual. And unfortunately, a lot of these women that were in this insane asylum were only deemed insane simply because they were immigrants who couldn't speak the English language. And after 10 days of living in these kinds of conditions, my employer, my editor at the New York World newspaper, had to send an attorney down to the insane asylum in order to petition for my release. After I was released and I kind of adjusted to, being back home, I decided to write this expose describing my horrible experience in this insane asylum. And this article that I wrote, this expose, it got the attention of the government, which was ultimately my goal. And so the government actually had a grand jury launch an investigation into the conditions and the treatment of the people in this insane asylum. And that investigation led to increased government funding that was designed to improve these horrible conditions in this asylum. And it was designed to bring in doctors and nurses that could give the people in this asylum that were actually suffering from mental illness, it gave them much better care. It was definitely a major reform of my time. The asylum ultimately was shut down in 1894. People call me a progressive reformer. And I'm kind of proud of that because of my investigative journalism and my little stunt that I pulled in 1887, it actually inspired other journalists to do the exact same thing. So they call me a pioneer of investigative journalism. By immersing ourselves into a story and exposing those hidden truths, we as investigative journalists have forever changed the way that journalism is perceived.